a devotee 2 days ago asked us, why is it called Krishna West? Krishna is above Eastern, Western, etc.
That is an amazing question from people who see nothing wrong with Festival of India.
Yes, right.
I'll tell you why Krishna West. No one, you see, in ISKCON, it's interesting. No one complains when ISKCON calls itself like we just go to the New Age programs or Bhakti Fest or Kirtan festivals. No one complains when we kind of disguise ourselves as straight edge musicians, and or we're Hindus or Festival of India. No one has a problem with that. Why Krishna West? First of all, because it is Western civilization that is actually transforming the world. If you say Western civilization, everyone knows what you mean. If you say Northern civilization, that doesn't even mean anything. Southern civilization, what does it mean? Australia, Mexico, Argentina, it doesn't even mean anything.
Right.
If you say Eastern civilization, then it starts to maybe mean something. But then is it Far East? Is it Japan and China? Is it India? But still, when you say Eastern culture, it means something. And so the point is that, frankly, going all the way back thousands of years, you can go back to the sort of those great wars between Persia and Greece, the Battle of Marathon. It's Alexander, and so there has always been, going back thousands of years, there has always been a tension, a rivalry, at times cooperation, but there has always been East and West. Mm-hmm. North and South is more a regional thing. In other words, you can talk about the difference between North and South Germany, North and South England. In fact, there was a recent, there's a great novel in English that was made into a movie called North and South, about the tension between North and South England, the American North and South. Mm-hmm. North and South Italy is a major issue.
Right.
However, North and South as cultural indicators only make sense regionally. Mm-hmm. On a global level, it's really East and West.
Okay.
And at the present time, oh, bless you, Gesundheit. And regionally, at the present time, Western civilization is rapidly becoming global civilization. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's one fact. So if you're going to have a special preaching program, that's probably the most important one you could possibly have. Number two, and ISKCON has hundreds of special preaching programs. A second point is that, in terms of results, the West is a special problem. So we have this situation, if we open our eyes, that ISKCON preaching seems to be weakest in the most important part of the world. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, for example, take Europe. There is a clear difference between, let's say, the Hare Krishna movement in France and Hungary. Or look at Germany and the Ukraine. I mean, do you have festivals where 8,000 German devotees come? They do in the Ukraine. The Ukraine is much smaller. It's much smaller than Germany.
1 second. They have introduced a festival here in Germany called Kirtan Mela 2 or 3 years ago, and announced it as the biggest festival in history of Germany, the biggest Krishna conscious festival. And they did really nice work, and it was really a very nice set up festival. However, my observation was that more than half of the participants came from Russia and Ukraine. maybe even more.
Yes. Yes, yeah. So, yes. I mean, these two facts, that the West is the dominant culture of the world now. In fact, it's getting to the point where it's almost not even Western culture; it's just world culture. Mm-hmm. And the fact that our preaching seems to have most difficulty in terms of really breaking through. Of course there are nice devotees. Of course there are nice programs. Of course we make some new devotees. But in terms of having a big, powerful movement, it's not happening in the West. And so I think these two facts are related. Because if you go to other places like Ukraine, it's not their culture which is taking over the world.
Yes.
So, because there's a need. Why Krishna West? Because there is a need. And Prabhupada has a global strategy. Prabhupada, the way I put it, Prabhupada had a general strategy and a specific strategy. The general strategy was, as a loving father, everyone just go out and preach and do your best. Whether you go to Japan or Mexico or Canada or America or Germany, wherever you just, a loving father that encourages all his children. Everyone go, make your area Krishna conscious. That's the general strategy. But Prabhupada had a clear, specific strategy that his movement depends on success in the West. It depends on it. Because there are two historical possibilities. Number one, ISKCON simply continues to transform into basically a movement for people from a Hindu background. And of course there are other programs, there are devotees from other places, but overwhelmingly it is a movement for people from a Hindu background. It's going in that direction, and if it continues to go in that direction, then within a generation, that's what it'll be. Another point we should consider, and this is not, I always say this, and I want to make this extremely clear, and no matter how hard I try, I am confident of being misunderstood by certain people. But for those who are reasonable and fair, I will say it as strongly as I can. This is not a criticism of people from a Hindu background. They are great souls. They are Vaishnavas. They are beloved members of our family, spiritual family. They should only be praised, not criticized. Everything, what they're doing is perfect. They're giving themselves to Krishna. So it is in no way a criticism of them. It's the opposite. Rather, it's just a fact. It's just a socio-historical, demographic fact that the movement is becoming dangerously unbalanced. And this is the last generation, frankly. We have a few more years, maybe 10, 15, 20 years. Maybe 20 years. That's about it. When there are still, in the Hare Krishna movement, let's say the most senior devotees are Western.
Right.
That situation will end in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's something I think about. Again, it is nothing. It is not in no way a criticism of anyone from an Indian background. They're great souls. They're not a danger to anyone. They're actually, they're Vaishnavas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that history is moving in a certain direction. And I know that at the present time, ISKCON historically is not moving in the direction that Prabhupada actually dreamed of. Because what Prabhupada dreamed of was a movement which is truly international. His mission, which is, of course, Gaur Nitai's mission, becomes a major, major world religion, becomes a powerful spiritual, cultural force in the West, and transforms the world. And especially in Western Europe and America. Prabhupada said again and again, he said it every day, that America and Western Europe, if they become Krishna conscious, And as we know, in Western Europe, the most prosperous country is Germany. The largest country in population is Germany. Or Germany is, of course, France and England are also important. And other countries, all the countries are important. But Germany is an extremely important country in one of the two most important regions of the world in terms of Prabhupada's global strategy. And so therefore, there's something very serious at stake here. There is something at risk. I joined the movement when the Western mission was very powerful. That's the Hare Krishna movement I joined. That's the Hare Krishna movement I want to be part of. A movement where we are really transforming the Western world. We are changing the world. That's the movement I fell in love with.
Right.
And that's the movement that Prabhupada loved. And therefore, my body now is 65 years old, believe it or not. Actually, unfortunately, most people would believe it. But so, I am now 65 years old, and I don't know how many years I have left. Only Krishna knows that. But I have no choice. I would be a traitor to Prabhupada. I would betray my own eternal spiritual master if I didn't, at this point, do everything possible, use all of my energy, all of my time, do everything possible to help, because I can't do it alone, to help establish ISKCON as a powerful, influential, major spiritual force in the Western world. There's nothing else for me to do in this world. Except maybe, go to some beautiful place in the country, write books, and play Baroque music on the keyboard. So there's nothing else for me to do. There's nothing else for me to do. And sure, in the beginning when I started Krishna West, I had been away for some time, and maybe my language was a little aggressive. And I can apologize for that. I don't mind apologizing. It doesn't cost anything. So I apologize for that. However, in practice, Krishna West is actually quite moderate. Every single time, in every single case, anywhere in the world, that an ISKCON leader or ISKCON devotees were seriously concerned, we made an adjustment. We compromised. Whether it's in the language of our websites, whether it's in how we organized, every single case in every country, in Mexico, Argentina, in Chile, in Brazil, in the United States, and now I'm going to Europe. I mean, everywhere we work, whenever an ISKCON leader or the GBC or the executive committee has some serious concern, we compromise. We try to, we put as a priority cooperation and peace. Mm-hmm. This is not, as they say, a runaway truck.